and I were talking about this before going live, thinking he might get the start. Allen, of course, got the win in the last game, and it could be Caden Primo on Thursday against the Senators, because they've been rolling with this three-headed goaltending monster for a while now. Would assume they're shopping Jake Allen as we approach the trade deadline here. Of course, there are several teams, the Edmonton Oilers, for example, that could be in the market for a goaltender like Jake Allen as they go toward the playoffs. Nice to bolster things at that position. So that'll be interesting. Right now, looking ahead, I'm not sure if the projections are up on the screen right now or not. Are they, Jake? Yeah, let's throw the projections up on the screen for Wednesday and Thursday. As you can see here, I think the Devils should be a minus 163 favorite, which is pretty much the midpoint price of what we're seeing. If you take the odds at NorthStar Bets minus 179 for the Devils, plus 145 for the Montreal Canadiens, and you remove the bookmakers vigorish, you'd be left with something around around. I'm laughing. I'm sorry. I've got thrown off track here because I see Connor in the chat. As always, he's wondering if I was stuck in the Tim's drive-through this morning. Nope, made it through on time. Just needed a little bit of extra time to prepare for this show. Of course, big slate today. Wanted to make sure that I got things right, so I took a little bit of extra time. But thanks for hanging out as always, Connor. But yeah, looking ahead to Montreal and Ottawa, I think the Senators should be a minus 143 favorite. I've been pretty open about my disdain for the Ottawa Senators. I don't think they are a very good hockey team. The market, though, thinks they are at least an average NHL team. You look at their average odds at home, about minus 120, about plus 120 on the road this season. There's something wrong there. I mean, they should be priced close to plus 200 on the road in most games, considering they've been performing like a team that is priced at 3-1 on the road, if not worse. At home, they've won 50% of the games so far. But they've been a favorite in 13 or 14 games at home this season. Something doesn't add up. It's seems crazy to say, but I think the 30th place team, the Ottawa Senators, are overrated. So I think bettors should pay a little bit more attention. I know they played pretty well last night versus the Colorado Avalanche, made me sweat a little bit for sure. Thankfully, the Avs got the 7-4 victory because that saved me. The two dogs that I played, they were half unit plays. The Seattle Kraken, they lost against the Rangers, and the Anaheim Ducks got shut out against the Washington Capitals. Those were both small half unit play plus money plays. So I won a unit on the Avalanche, broke even on those three plays, lost some pocket change, point 0.1 units on Warren Fogle not scoring an anytime goal. Damn, I wish I had bet Ryan McLeod, but his demotion from the second line with Evander Kane and Warren Fogle down to the third line with Janmark and Derek Ryan was enough to scare me off. But he did find the back of the net. That was his sixth goal. And he also had an assist for fifth assist, sixth goal and fifth assist in his last 10 games. McLeod, he was producing, not producing offensively, but generating chances. And now he is making the most out of his new role with the Oilers, being mixed in there in the top six from time to time. So he's a player to look out for. Saw someone on Twitter, Dennis on Twitter, say that maybe he's Ryan Nugent Hopkins light, or a second coming of RNH. And that would be good for the Oilers because they could, maybe move on from a player like Ryan Nugent Hopkins, as tough as that would be. But you know what? Let's talk a little bit more about Wednesday because Alexander Barkov is out for the Florida Panthers. We mentioned that on Tuesday's show. The new projection for this game, minus 179 for the Florida Panthers. So they should still win the game approximately 64% of the time. And there is, though, technically some value on the Red Wings, just not enough to justify a bet right now. Northstar has the Red Wings at plus 185. So it's technically a plus EV price. The best price in market is plus 188. Curious what Penny has right now, plus 183. So yeah, not sure that that's going to get any better because we know that Barkov is out. The market has already seemingly done its thing. And I'm pretty close to where the market is. So 4 cents of value, not quite enough to justify making a bet on this Red Wings team, but it would be Detroit or nothing. here. So I'm just sticking with the Montreal Canadiens on the money line because we got a great price. I don't really want to bet on the Chicago Blackhawks. That's something that I would maybe consider closer to game time if the odds continue to get sort of at a hand. Plus 220 at NorthStar Bets, not enough for me. The best price in market we have at an exchange plus 260, plus 254 at Pinnacle. So, yeah, there is some love for the Buffalo Sabres out there, but at the same time, I would definitely look at Chicago or nothing in this one. Sabres could run away with it for sure. Blackhawks going to be on the second half of a back to back here, but yeah, Montreal going to be my only play for Wednesdays. What is a pretty ugly slate on Wednesday. So let's talk about Thursday's NHL games. I've got one bet that I really want to talk about here. Not sure I'm going to make any more bets for Thursday right away here, but I like the Minnesota Wild. Talked a little bit about this on the show yesterday afternoon with Nick. He was looking ahead to Thursday and pointed out the Wild as well as a spot to watch, and plus 140 at North Star Bets, the opening price here. And that is, I think, enough for a three-quarter unit bet. So 0.75 units on the Minnesota Wild to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. These two teams pretty close statistically over the last month or so. But when you consider that Minnesota was without, Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Zuccarello, Jared Spurgeon, who they're still without, Jonas Brodin, etc. They've been, dealing with a lot of injuries to some important players, and their starting goaltender Philip Gustafsson. I think that you can expect a big uptick in their play. Talked to Nick about it on the show yesterday about how the Wild were playing great under John Hines following his hiring, and they were playing great up until those injuries started to hit them as hard as they did. So I think this one is something that we could look at in hindsight in a couple of weeks and say, wow, that was a bad price that was offered on the Minnesota Wild, and we could have took advantage of it maybe a little bit more so. But I'm just going to go with the three-quarter unit play to win 1.05 units on the Minnesota Wild at plus 140. They're on the first half of a back-to-back. Actually, they're going to be playing again on Friday in Florida. So, the typical Tampa Bay Sunrise back-to-back that a lot of teams have to do. And they'll probably start you would think that they will put their best foot forward against the Tampa Bay Lightning here, knowing that they've got a tough test on the second night against the Florida Panthers as well. So yeah, Minnesota plus 140, minus 172. I just want to pull something up here really quick while we're on the subject, talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Minnesota Wild. So just looking at 5-on-5 here at evolvinghockey.com, adjusted for score and venue. The Lightning, they are 17th in expected goals percentage at 5-on-5 over the last month. The Wild, they're down at 23rd, and their goal share 41.5%. Just brutal, right? They haven't been scoring goals. In fact, only 4 teams have scored fewer goals per 60 minutes than the Wild have over the last month. But now that their goaltending is back in order with both Marc-Andre Fleury and Philip Gustafsson healthy, they've got their biggest offensive, weapons, Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Zuccarello, back in the lineup, and that really equated to a big win over the Isles, 5-0. Just a couple of nights ago. So maybe that's a sign of things to come here. I think the Wild can match the Lightning defensively and in goal with their goaltending tandem. Although I think, obviously Andre Vasilevsky still has the pedigree of an elite goaltender and maybe the best goaltender in the NHL. But this Lightning team is a lot different than the one that we've gotten to know over the last few years. And as long as Minnesota's offense, ticks up back to where it was prior to all this starting. So if we go back, if we look at October up until, let's say, December 16th, because that is just prior to the last month, the Wild were a top 10 team at 5-on-5, 2.78 goals per 60 minutes, 2.35 goals against per 60 minutes. And where were the Lightning at? The Lightning, They were down 2.4 goals per 60 minutes and allowing 3 goals per 60 minutes. Of course, they didn't have Andre Vasilevsky for a large chunk of the season, but I think the key point here is that these two teams are very, very similar. Plus 140, too big of a price. The model thinks that the Lightning should be. Um, I really got to start pulling this up on time and not having to look for it. But the model thinks that the Lightning should be minus 130. So we're getting 10 cents of value here. Uh, 0.75 units to win 1.05 units on the Minnesota Wild. And like I said, regardless of who's going to start in goal, I like this play. Could like it a lot more. Um, if the Wild were at 100% full strength, but that's not going to be the case for a little while here. So we'll see what the Lightning's, or sorry, I could like it a little bit more if the Lightning are not, back to full strength. Mikhail Sergachev out, Tanner G not out as well. So Eric Cernak, I believe, back on the injured list as well after coming off for one game. So yeah, Minnesota Wild plus 140 on the money line on Thursday. That's my best bet for right now, and we're gonna look at a little bit more. You know what? Actually, I wanted to kind of review some updated betting trends because we're more than halfway through the NHL regular season now. We've got a sample of 688 games to sift through, and I think there are some trends that hockey bettors can use to shape their process for picking winners because it's all about picking winners. Home teams 368 and 320 straight up. That's a 53.5% win rate so far this season. That jumps up to 57.1% in games where the home team has more rest than the road team, though. And when the road team has more rest than the home team, the home win rate drops down to 49.3%. So, I mean, don't forget to put some stock into the rest here. In fact, I think you could even put a little bit more stock into it than the market does because there are some situations like this one where, the home team's winning 57.1% of the games where they have more rest than the road team. Well, their implied odds are down around 55%. So there have been some situations where these home teams that are well rested, as it relates to the team they're playing, or compared to the team they're playing, uh, where they are, being undervalued by the betting market. So something to look out for there. And, I think consider somebody asked about regulation plays the other day. Consider betting road teams to win in regulation because they win almost as much as home favorites do, but their odds are longer, obviously, because they are on the road. Recreational bettors, I don't think, though, should hurry to make regulation bets on big favorites. And that's something that I see a lot of them do. Try taking a chance at longer odds. Look, think of the Edmonton Oilers against the Toronto Maple Leafs on Tuesday. They were a minus 150 favorite, so not a big favorite. But of course, they did win in regulation. They covered the puck line as well, 4-2. And just looking it up here now, I just want to see what their regulation odds were. Oh, here we are. Plus 105. So you can get plus money on a team that is, uh, capable of winning in regulation, right? And there are other examples here as well. I mean, I don't you don't have to just look at the big favorites all the time. You can look at the shorter favorites, you can look at some dogs potentially. So keep that in mind for sure. Next, I think it feels like there are a lot more. Speaking of regulation wins, I think that somebody made a comment the other day when I posted the chart that I usually post each week with the updated betting trends that a lot of OT. Well, I don't think that there's really been a change by the looks of things. Last season, 23% of games went to extra time, and this season, approximately 22% of games have needed more than 60 minutes to find a winner. So, not much of a change. If anything, a little bit less overtime this year compared to last. And, when we're talking about the puck line, betters, you're winning less than 40% of the time when you're backing that minus 1.5 favorite on the puck line. So, don't reach too high. for these big favorites to blow out weak teams. Even big money line favorites with odds of minus 150 or higher have only covered the puck line just 42% of the time this season. So, once again, consider betting teams on the puck line that are at longer odds. Maybe a short favorite like Edmonton or a shorter favorite like Edmonton last night, minus 150. Um, they are they should have been what, plus 150 on the puck line, plus 153. So there you go, right? And they covered. Consider bets like that rather than considering these bigger favorites at chalky price, right? So uh, I want to talk a little bit about totals. I guess we've done totals this year a little bit over the last few weeks. Been doing pretty good. Have lost a couple, but overall it's been profitable. And totals where the game is, or games where the total is 5.5 goals, they have gone over 55.3% of the time, and this would not be all that interesting if it was not for the fact that the average odds are around 52.6%. So, bit of an edge there, betting over 5.5 goals just blindly. It's a small sample, as just 37 games have had a total lower than 6 goals. But the over has hit in 16 out of the last 23 games with a total of 5.5 since the start of December. And sticking with totals, yes, you get plus money when you go over 7 goals on average, close to plus 110 on average, actually. But the over has only hit 21 out of 64 times this season, or 32.8% in those games. And it's landed on exactly 7 goals, 20.3% of the time. So nearly 68% of the time, bettors who need 8 goals or more to cash their tickets are pushing or outright losing. So some, you know, macro betting trends that I think you can use to make smarter bets here in the second half of the season, because there are still a lot of hockey games left to be played. We've got a lot of hockey left to bet on, and just, maybe crafting your process, using some of this to craft your process, and maybe create some rules of thumb to live by here as you learn a little bit more about hockey betting. But yeah, pretty jam-packed slate on Thursday. Just not seeing anything I actually love here. The Toronto Maple Leafs, man, like I said yesterday, I would not be surprised to see them go 0-4 on this road trip. Just based on, a little bit of bad luck and the fact that they're not going to be a big favorite or even a really decisive favorite in any game here. Actually, the Calgary Flames are a favorite here, minus 114 according to NorthStar Bets. Um, my model plus 102 for the Flames. Thanks you, Jake. So we don't think that the Flames should be a favorite, but this one is pretty much a coin flip. So look, flip a coin as to whether the Maple Leafs are going to find success on the road here. And maybe I'm undervaluing the Flames a little bit. The Maple Leafs, man, they looked pretty good last night for the first 30 minutes of that game versus the Edmonton Oilers. But they let Edmonton come back and score 4 unanswered goals. Of course, trying to open the game, I believe 17 seconds in, Austin Matthews lit the lamp. So they got off to a good start, but the Oilers, I mean, outscored their problems once again. So tough break for Toronto. Tough way to start the road trip, blowing a multi-goal lead, and no real easy games on this one as they play the Flames, the Kraken, and the Canucks. 6 games in 9 nights. Then they're back home for a game, and then they're back on the road, I believe, against the Winnipeg Jets. So they're gonna, we're gonna get a chance to kind of power rank the Leafs against the rest of Canada, and if Tuesday's result is any indication, then might not be a very optimistic power ranking when it's all said and done. Um, Anything else that I'm considering for Thursday? Well, the Rangers. I mean, that one has kind of been, I would say, bet into shape here. New York. There's one obscure book out there that has the Rangers at even money. I don't know if that is a book that a lot of people can bet at. But yeah, if you see that one around, I guess take it, because the Rangers should be a minus 110 favorite according to the Canada sports betting model. The Vegas Golden Knights are going to be without, they're already really injured, and now they're going to be without Jack Eichel who is out week to week after undergoing surgery. That sounds like a minor surgery considering he is week to week, and there wasn't really a whole lot reported on that leading up to it. So yeah, that is a big loss for the Vegas Golden Knights, were already without a couple of their goaltenders. Aiden Hill has not come back yet. Patira, who was starting some games for them there, is not back. Logan Thompson is back. Shea Theodore, William Karlsson still out of the lineup. So tough spot for the Vegas Golden Knights if they don't get some of those players back. The Kings. Look, and I saw my buddy Michael Clifford from Dauber Hockey. I told you guys that you should follow Slim Cliffy on Twitter because he does tweet out some good nuggets. He was tweeting about the Los Angeles Kings and about how, uh, you know, I think they're 5-8-5 since December 8th, and they have, I think they're still seventh in expected goals percentage at 5-on-5, though, according to Evolving Hockey. Maybe he's referring to a natural stat trick. I think Cliffy usually refers to Evolving Hockey's model, though. So, yeah, and he points out also that the Kings have, one of the worst shooting percentages in the NHL over that stretch. But I mean, looking at LA here, just over, basically since they returned from the holiday break, I mean, I think you've got to be a little bit concerned because they snapped their 8-game losing streak on Monday with a win over the Carolina Hurricanes. They followed that up, though, with a 5-1 loss to the Stars on Tuesday in Dallas. They did post the fifth worst shooting percentage in the NHL during this stretch since December 27th. And they faced a tough stretch of games too against some pretty tough competition, but there's been a massive drop off in their play. So prior to the holidays, the Kings owned 57.7% of the expected goals at 5-on-5. That was good for second in the NHL behind their Pacific Division rivals, the Edmonton Oilers. However, since December 28th, I took out the 5-1 win over the San Jose Sharks. So since that, the Los Angeles Kings ranked 21st in expected goals percentage at 5-on-5 at 47.7%. So that's a big downgrade, man. I mean, 10 percentage points from 57.7% down to 47.7%. And I think luck, it should start to turn it should start to turn for the Kings here. They're not going to continue to shoot the way they have with such poor shooting luck. But I think bettors should start paying attention to their mediocre play. I mean, you can't catch a falling knife if the price hasn't dropped, right? I mean, people often do that. I find hockey bettors, they try to catch these teams as they think they're going to regress back to, a better offensive output, and that's probably the case. But we haven't seen a big adjustment here in how the Kings are priced on a game to game basis. They've still been a sizable favorite, a short to sizable favorite in 7 out of their last 10 games, 8 out of their last 11 games. So, you're still laying chalk half the time. Or more than half the time, sorry, and often big prices. So I'd exercise some caution here with the LA Kings. I think they've got the capability to be one of the best teams in the NHL. I thought they were one of the best teams in the NHL for a long time, but I mean, this is a stretch of 10 or 11 games where they just haven't been playing all that well. They've been playing like an average hockey team. And getting some pretty unlucky results, but that's what happens when you play poor hockey. You open up the door for variance to kind of kick your ass, and it's been kicking the Kings' ass lately. So I would not really I would not suggest laying a big price like they're showing here against the Nashville Predators. My model thinks they should be a minus 144 favorite. Nashville on the others coming back on NorthStar Bets at plus 130, LA minus 156. So maybe nothing there. But yeah, a lot of things really close here. I will consider betting on Montreal. I'm not sure that plus 145 is the best price we're going to see here. This is an opening price, and a lot of the times they don't stick around. But I think given the schedule spot, 6 games in 9 nights, I think given the market's penchant for betting the Senators, despite the fact that they are clearly an objectively bad team, I think that we could see a shift in the odds from plus 145, maybe up to the plus 155 or plus 160 area. And at that point, I would lock in the Canadians. So So I'm gonna wait on that one. JH in the chat for home ice advantage. Do you use a common adjustment number? I guess he means like a static number for all teams, or do you have a number for each team? I have a number for each team. It's sort of scaled, as throughout the league, basically kind of from the best teams down to the worst teams. Not really all that sophisticated by any means. Teams like San Jose and Chicago have basically, no home ice advantage. Teams like Edmonton and Florida and teams of that nature have a bigger home ice advantage. I think teams like the Canucks have a bigger home ice advantage than the market gives them credit for. And I think based on the results, the results back that up. So, I was actually looking at that yesterday. Vancouver, I mean, I'm just going to try that to pull this up here really quick if I can do so in a not so clunky way. Um, Here we go. All right. So average odds at home. Where are we at here? Right here. Average odds at home. So the Canucks, they're priced like an average team. So they're priced at minus 130 on average at home, but they've been winning like a team that should be priced at minus 280 at home. Like they've won 73.7% of their games on home ice. On the road, their average odds have been minus 110. They've won like a minus 150 team on the road, though 60% win rate on the road. So I think you can kind of see some where some market adjustments should take place when you look at the average odds like this. Yeah, no problem, JH. Thanks, he says in the chat, for taking the time to answer his question. But it's a great question. I mean, I think probably the smartest choice is to just use a static number, and maybe be pretty conservative in your estimate, because it's I'm guessing a bit here with the way I do home ice advantage, but I did use a static number for a long time. And I've just in the last couple of seasons, this season actually really started to try to shift towards more of a dynamic home ice advantage across the league, because I mean clearly teams like San Jose, Chicago, you see these teams. San Jose, I mean, maybe they have a little bit of a home ice advantage, but that's sort of evaporated at various times throughout the season. So, yeah, I just try to go. I've tried to craft some sort of dynamic number throughout the league. Tops off at around 4.5%. I don't think teams actually have a bigger home ice advantage. Very as big of a home ice advantage as you would maybe think if you looked at their if you compared the home and road splits. So tops off around 5% for the best teams, but yeah, it gets down as low as 0% for a team like San Jose or Chicago, or a very very minimal home ice advantage. So not sure if I'm doing it the right way, but it's been good. We've been making good prices all season long, so I guess I'll keep going. But yeah, that pretty much does it for today's episode of the Puck Portfolio. I've got an article to finish up. We'll have that published a little bit later. You can check out updated projections for the NHL standings, Stanley Cup playoffs, the Vancouver Canucks sitting atop the NHL projected standings right now, and atop the actual standings right now. I'm sure Canucks fans are happy about that. Let's just hope that they don't end up like the Boston Bruins last year. If they do end up winning the President's Trophy, I believe they've got a 24% chance to do so right now, according to our projection model. So we'll have that and some other updates at Canada Sports Betting that you can check out today at canadasportsbetting.ca. But once again, if you have not already, please like this video, drop a comment if you want, and subscribe to the Canada Sports Betting YouTube channel because it helps out a ton. And of course, check out our great sponsor, NorthStar Bet, via the link in the description below. Jake, anything you want to get off your chest before we get out of here?
No, not my chest, but a little while ago, Troy was asking what the unit size was for your bet on Montreal tonight.
Oh, yeah, Troy, 0.75 units. I would not make this bet now at this point, though, because I mean, we look around. Like I said, the best price in market right now is plus 170. That is at DraftKings, but that really is not enough, a big enough price for me to justify a bet because I like the Canadians down to around plus 175 ish. We were able to get plus 185 last night, even 2 to 1 on the show. I actually would have tracked it at plus 200, but fell asleep at the wheel there. Kind of got away from things when Nick and I finished up our recording, and I forgot to track it until later on in the evening, and the odds had already moved down to plus 185. So I wouldn't make the bet on the Canadians at this point, Troy. I think that the market has reacted appropriately, and now the price is where pretty much where it should be. So, if you can't get out in front of the right price, then maybe a good idea here to just sit this one out tonight. After all, it is a pretty ugly slate that we're dealing with here. Maybe some exciting games. New Jersey, Montreal should be a good game, fun one to watch. Same thing with Florida and Detroit. Even though there is a little bit less star or a lot less star power with Barkov and Patrick Kane at the lineup, but some exciting games tonight nonetheless. I'll be back on Thursday without Jake. Unfortunately, all by my lonesome just talking hockey. We'll discuss Thursday slate, look ahead to Friday's games. Hopefully, I'll find a total or two, maybe another money line bet that I like on Thursday, and something for Friday. And of course, we'll be back. I'll be back on Friday to look ahead to Saturday's NHL odds. But yeah, that does it for this edition of the Puck Portfolio. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate it. We will see you on Thursday. Good luck with your bets.